I was always searching for that missing link, you know? Something that could bridge the ancient mysteries with our modern understanding. And then it hit me like lightning. Alchemy. The very foundation of how we think today. Carl Jung's awakening to his own consciousness became the cornerstone of his revolutionary exploration into the human mind. But here's something most people don't realize: we humans love to theorize about things we barely comprehend. From his earliest years, Jung encountered phenomena that defied explanation. Strange visions, impossible events, experiences that made him question his sanity. He feared he was losing his mind and embarked on a desperate quest for answers. Picture this: vivid yellow waves cascading through debris, countless lives ending in catastrophe. 2 weeks later, the vision returned with even greater intensity. Then an inner voice spoke clearly: "Witness this truth. It is absolutely real and will manifest. You cannot deny what's coming." Jung experienced these prophetic visions just before World War I erupted across Europe. When reality matched his visions perfectly, he realized something profound. This wasn't madness threatening him. These dreams and revelations were messages from what he would later call the collective unconscious. These supernatural experiences continued throughout his adult life, delivering uncanny predictions that aligned precisely with major historical events. Can you imagine suddenly becoming aware without any apparent trigger? No family conflicts, no obvious cause, just pure awakening? Jung's parents represented the old world. His father served as a country pastor, and you can picture what people believed back in the 1870s. They carried convictions that had shaped humanity for nearly 2 millennia. Jung's upbringing and cultural environment profoundly influenced how he understood consciousness and reality itself. The burning question that consumed him was this: how do meaningful events connect without any visible causal relationship? What does this reveal about our physical universe? These were revolutionary concepts that scientific rationality simply couldn't explain adequately. Jung's insights align remarkably with cutting-edge scientific discoveries, particularly quantum physics principles. Consider the famous double-slit experiment. Particles actually behave differently based on whether someone observes them. This proves that our observation directly impacts reality, supporting Jung's theory that synchronicities represent profound interactions between consciousness and the physical world. These aren't just abstract concepts. They manifest in our everyday lives through meaningful coincidences. Imagine you're trapped in an unsatisfying job, completely uncertain about your career direction. One weekend, curiosity leads you to a community gathering. There, you encounter a speaker sharing their passionate journey of career transformation and dream pursuit. Their story ignites something within you. After their presentation, you approach them for conversation. This spontaneous connection blossoms into mentorship, providing exactly the guidance and encouragement needed to pursue your authentic passions and achieve career success. As you explore deeper into psychology and personal transformation, you'll discover that even legendary figures like Carl Jung experienced extraordinary phenomena. During his youth, Jung encountered not just unusual visions, but completely inexplicable physical events. One summer while studying, he heard what sounded like a gunshot. Rushing to investigate, he found a solid wooden table had spontaneously split from edge to center. 2 weeks later, another sharp crack echoed through the house. This time, A bread knife in the cupboard, recently used, had shattered into multiple pieces. These mysterious incidents ignited Jung's fascination with the unknown, propelling him toward exploring the deepest layers of human psychology and supernatural mysteries. Jung completed his medical training and became a psychiatrist. During this period, he regularly attended seances attempting communication with the deceased. His interest in parapsychology and occult phenomena stemmed directly from his personal experiences. These investigations formed the foundation of his medical dissertation, published in 1902, on the psychology and pathology of so-called occult phenomena, a psychiatric study. The relationship between perception and reality echoes in the words of renowned physicist Niels Bohr. Everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. This illuminates how our perception actually shapes reality, perfectly aligning with synchronicity concepts. One memorable encounter involved Jung discussing parapsychology with Freud. Freud, committed to materialism, dismissed most of Jung's inquiries as nonsensical. Suddenly, Jung experienced a bizarre sensation, as if his diaphragm had transformed into red-hot iron. At that precise moment, a thunderous crack erupted from the bookcase beside them. Both men leaped up in alarm, fearing it might collapse. Jung declared, "That demonstrates so-called catalytic exteriorization phenomena." Freud dismissed it as complete nonsense. Jung disagreed and boldly predicted another loud crack would occur shortly. Another detonation immediately shook the bookcase. In his autobiographical work, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung wrote, "To this day, I cannot explain what gave me such certainty, but I knew beyond doubt that the sound would repeat." Freud stared at me in amazement. I cannot fathom what occupied his thoughts or what his expression meant. Jung's dialogues with contemporaries like Freud frequently highlighted their contrasting views on the psyche's nature. I visited him in Vienna, and we talked for 13 uninterrupted hours. 13 straight hours. We didn't realize we were nearly exhausted afterward, but it was tremendously fascinating. He was the experienced elder, far ahead of me, so I settled down to learn something first. In 1928, while Jung was creating the mandalas in his red book, sonologist Richard Wilhelm sent him The Secret of the Golden Flower, a Taoist alchemical text teaching ancient Chinese meditation for achieving wholeness. Jung was astounded by the parallels between the Chinese mandala and his own work. He immediately devoured the book. Commemorating this moment, he wrote beneath his mandala, "In 1928, when I painted this image showing the golden fortified castle, Richard Wilhelm in Frankfurt sent me the 1,000-year-old Chinese text about the yellow castle, the seed of the immortal body." Jung's mandala work and Eastern philosophy interests further demonstrated his quest for understanding universal interconnectedness. I had written that book which cost me my friendship with Freud because he couldn't accept it. He thought the unconscious was merely a byproduct of consciousness, simply a storage room where consciousness discarded its remnants. But for me, the unconscious was already a matrix, a creative foundation of consciousness, capable of autonomous actions. At Jung's theory's heart lies the archetype concept, fundamental patterns, influencing both our psyche and the physical world. This marked a decisive turning point in Jung's life, shifting his writings toward alchemy's psychological significance. He wrote that Wilhelm's influence sparked a flame that became one of my life's most significant events. I feel so enriched by him that I seem to have received more from him than from any other person. Jung was particularly struck by a drawing depicting a yogi with 5 human figures growing from his head and 5 more figures growing from each of their heads. Jung interpreted this image as portraying the spiritual state of a yogi preparing to abandon his multiple egos and enter the more complete, objective state of the self. Carl Gustav Jung's synchronicity exploration ultimately leads to the profound concept of unified reality, the unused MUNDUS. Jung coined synchronicity and first mentioned it publicly in 1930 during his memorial address for Richard Wilhelm, who had translated the I Ching from Chinese to German. He described it as a peculiar principle active in the world, causing things to happen together somehow, behaving as if identical, yet appearing different to us. One thing is certain, a great transformation of our psychological attitude approaches. This is inevitable because we need more psychology, more understanding of human nature. The only real danger that exists is humanity itself. We are the great danger, and we remain pitifully unaware of it. We understand far too little about ourselves. Human psychology should be studied because we are the source of all approaching evil. By studying the psyche and understanding our inner world, we can begin grasping synchronicity's true nature and implications. The human soul is incredibly complex, sometimes requiring half a lifetime to achieve psychological development. This isn't always about psychotherapy or neurosis treatment. This entire psychology also represents a pedagogical method in the broadest sense. It's education, something like ancient philosophy, not merely technique. It touches the whole person and challenges the complete individual. Jung equated synchronicity with the Chinese concept of Tao, the union of opposites from complementary yin and yang pairs. It's based on humanity's oneness with the surrounding cosmos. This parallels the Hermetic alchemical principle, as above, so below, referring to the inner and outer worlds, psyche and matter being identical. The Taoist sage's aim is living harmoniously with the Tao, avoiding extremes and achieving balance. This represents Jungian psychology's goal, balancing opposites, consciousness and unconscious, aligning ego with self as personality's center. Here, synchronicity plays a vital role. Individual development isn't linear evolution, it's circumambulation. Circular movement where everything relates to the center. The mandala symbol represents this concept. For Jung, discovering one's personal mandala symbol was crucial for self-development. For this circular movement to occur, the mandala must contain a central symbol, sun, castle, or golden flower. It's a visual image of the divine pattern, a self-manifestation. The ultimate result is the alchemical process. Mysterium Conjunctionis, also Jung's final great works title. Life's opposite aspects unite in sacred marriage, achieving heightened consciousness, clarity, and deepened unity of being. Jung noted that Atman, Tao, and Christ represent different cultural symbols for wholeness, correlating the inner self with the cosmos's animating principle. You no longer live, it lives you. The I Ching oracle played an important role in developing his synchronicity ideas. He used it with patients in psychotherapy and remembered numerous meaningful responses and unusual psychological insights. For instance, he recalled a patient suffering from a mother complex who feared his potential marriage partner might be domineering. Jung consulted the I Ching, which showed hexagram 44, coming to meet, stating, "The maiden is powerful. One should not marry such a maiden." Jung's experiments demonstrated meaningful connections between the psychic realm and physical world. For more than 30 years, I've been interested in this oracle technique for exploring the unconscious. It seems uncommonly significant to me. It relates to a curious principle I've termed synchronicity, a concept formulating a viewpoint diametrically opposed to causality. Since causality is merely statistical truth, not absolute, it's a working hypothesis of how events evolve from one another. Synchronicity takes the coincidence of events in space and time as meaning something more than mere chance. The psyche has peculiar faculties. It isn't entirely confined to space and time. You can have future dreams or visions, see around corners, and such things. Only ignorance denies these facts. They're quite evident and have always existed. These facts show that the psyche, at least partially, isn't dependent upon these confinements. When the psyche isn't under obligation to live in time and space alone, and obviously it doesn't, then to that extent, the psyche isn't subject to those laws. That means practical continuation of life, a sort of psychical existence beyond time and space. Understanding the psyche's freedom from time and space constraints opens new possibilities for experiencing synchronicity. The archetype is a force with autonomy. It can certainly seize you. It's like a seizure. For instance, love at first sight is such a case. You have a certain image in yourself without knowing it of the woman. Now you see that girl, or at least a good imitation of your type, and instantly you get seized and you're gone. Afterward, you may discover it was a hell of a mistake. That's the archetype, the so-called anima archetype. When a man sings very high, he thinks he must have wonderful spiritual character because he can reach the highest notes. She's badly disappointed when she marries that particular number. Well, that's the animus archetype. Causality explains connections between successive events, but synchronicity reveals deeper meaningful patterns beyond mere cause and effect. Striking. A billiard ball with a cue causes the ball to move in a specific direction. This fundamental principle is important in physics and free will explanation. However, this worldview omits an important question. Why do events sometimes coincide meaningfully? What does it mean if a bird crashes into the window at the exact moment a distant relative dies? This coincidence is as meaningful as the possibility that the falling bird caused the person's death. For Jung, this indicated another factor, a causal in nature, which he called synchronicity. He derived this from Hermann Usener's work on religious history origins. Synchronicities rest on the simultaneous occurrence of two different psychic states. Consciousness is one factor, and there's another equally important factor, the unconscious that can interfere with consciousness anytime it pleases. Of course, I say to myself, this is very uncomfortable because I think I'm the only master in my house. But I must admit there's another somebody in that house who can play tricks. Jung highlights the unsettling reality that our unconscious mind can unexpectedly influence our conscious thoughts and actions. This psychic duality is crucial to understanding synchronicity. One of Jung's patients, a woman with difficulties due to her highly rationalist worldview, described a dream about a golden scarab. During the session, Jung heard window tapping. When opened, a golden-green scarab beetle flew in. This meaningful coincidence broke her rationalist outlook's ice, making it possible for her to consider reality existing outside her own head. For Jung, Synchronistic events were glimpses into the universe's underlying order, the unused mundus or one world. Physicist Pauli described the underlying order as a cosmic clock where everything has its place and time, even when we don't see the connections. I was out in nature, standing in a wheat field ready for harvest. I was a giant, holding her in my arms like a baby. Wind was blowing over that field, creating waves in the wheat. With these waves, I swayed, putting her to sleep as if she were in the arms of a god, of the Godhead. She felt this. That clicked. She became aware of an entirely pagan image emerging fresh from the archetype because that value is within her. That's liberation, and that makes her complete. Jung's archetype ideas illustrate how deep-seated patterns influence our personal behaviors and dreams. Jung attempts to account for synchronistic events, primarily through his archetype concept. Patterns of instinctual behavior responsible for organizing unconscious psychic processes. Archetypes constitute the collective unconscious structure, representing a psyche identical in all individuals, containing images of all creation. It's life's master pattern. Archetypes arrange psychic material and produce meaningful patterns. In the physical world, they cannot be directly perceived or represented, contrasting with perceptible psychic phenomena. Due to its irrepresentable nature, Jung called it psychoid, soul-like, referring to the relationship between a person's psyche and the physical world. Beyond that person's body, we find ourselves with a factor having nothing to do with brain activity, but rather with meaningful patterns in our personal lives. Meaningful coincidences rest on archetypal foundations. These archetypal patterns also manifest in societal myths and cultural phenomena, shaping collective experiences. This unitary dimension to all experience is the alchemical notion of unused mundus, the one world. Jung writes, if mandala symbolism is the psychological equivalent of unused mundus, then synchronicity is its parapsychological equivalent. The world hangs on a thin thread. That's the human psyche. Nowadays, we're not threatened by elementary catastrophes. There's no such thing as an atomic bomb that isn't human-made. We are the great danger. The psyche is the great danger. What if something goes wrong with the psyche? You see, it's demonstrated to us today what the psyche's power is, how important it is to know something about it, but we know nothing about it. In therapy, recognizing our psyche's interconnectedness can be transformative. Seeing one person as radically separate from another is limiting. It's the field that connects and includes both participants that transforms. The unconscious communications linking both partners may be usefully described as emerging from the psychoid realm because it transcends limited perceptions of analyst and patient possessing separate, encapsulated psyches. It's particularly in the heightened tension generated by such a field that synchronistic events tend to occur. Psychic life is fundamentally a shared, unitary realm. The complete self is the pleroma, the place where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. It's the idea that everything destined to happen has already occurred. That's synchronicity's magic. Harnessing synchronicities offers valuable life insights. Understanding their types and aligning them with Hermetic principles unlocks deeper meaning and personal growth. Here's how to identify and act on them. Warning or alert synchronicities occur before stressful or pivotal events. Cultivate acute awareness by paying close attention to seemingly insignificant details in daily life. Be mindful of patterns or recurring themes signaling upcoming challenges. Recognizing vibrations and movements helps anticipate pivotal events. Aligning with the Hermetic principle of vibration, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Confirmation synchronicities affirm you're on the right path. Keep a detailed journal recording coincidences and patterns. Reflect on entries to understand their significance. Confirmation journaling helps see correspondence between inner experiences and external events, aligning with the Hermetic principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. Prophetic synchronicities are symbolic messages guiding you. Evaluate whether your life is on autopilot. If synchronicities seem absent, break free from routine by embracing new experiences and challenges. Exploring your consciousness and breaking routine aligns with the Hermetic principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Manifestation. Synchronicities occur when your thoughts or desires come to fruition. Actively step out of your comfort zone, embracing awe and wonder toward reality. Pursue new adventures aligning with your true passion. Your actions, causes, lead to manifesting your desires' effects, consistent with the Hermetic principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Opportunity synchronicities represent the perfect intersection of preparation and opportunity. Hone your discernment by developing the ability to distinguish between impulses driven by social conditioning and those emanating from your authentic spiritual core. Aligning actions with spiritual intelligence and true intuition helps recognize and seize opportunities, reflecting the Hermetic principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Recognizing rhythms in your life can help you understand synchronicity timing, aligning with the Hermetic principle of rhythm. Everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Balancing the masculine and feminine. Principles within yourself can help you tap into creative forces driving synchronicities, aligning with the Hermetic principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. I was always searching for that connection, something bridging that distant past with the present moment. And I discovered to my amazement it is alchemy. It's the foundation of our modern way of conceiving things. Therefore, it's as if it were right beneath consciousness's rays, giving a wonderful picture of how archetypal development, the movement of archetypes, appears when you look upon them as they form. From today, you look back into the past and see how the present moment evolved from the past. We can construct or even predict our day's consciousness when we know what it was yesterday. The mysteries of synchronicity await your discovery. Will you open your awareness to the sacred patterns surrounding you? The universe is constantly speaking. Are you ready to listen?